What I took from Kilimanjaro, I learned the power of my story. I'm not trying to be an inspiration. What I try to do is be an example of like, if this is what I can do, what can we all do? My name is Spencer West. I'm a motivational speaker and an author. I was born with a genetic disease that basically caused the muscles in my legs not to work. I had 2 surgeries. The first one was at the age of 2, where they were gonna remove my legs at the knee. The hope was I would use prosthetic legs to get around that way, but it didn't work. Then at the age of 5, they were removed just below my pelvis so I could get around better. After my surgeries, my parents met with the doctors and they basically told my parents that I would probably never walk by myself, sit up by myself, or be a functioning member of society. I grew up in a small town called Rock Springs in the state of Wyoming. Everyone on our block, we all knew each other, we all played together. And what was so interesting is that they treated me just like everybody else. I rode a skateboard with the folks in my neighborhood. I felt like I belonged, but it was when I started school that things started to change. At recess, I didn't want to play sports with the boys. So I was always playing house with the girls and hanging out with them. Because of that, I was called a faggot. I was called queer. I was called gay and teased for always hanging out with the girls. And that was really hard because I was starting to have an idea that maybe I was gay as well. And then when something like that happens, you're terrified and you don't want to be that anymore. And so you pretend not to be. My first real career was working at a salon and spa. This was an incredible job and I made some amazing friends there and I really enjoyed the people that I worked with, but the job didn't fulfill what I was looking for. I didn't feel like I had a purpose there other than just to make money. In March of 2008, I went to Kenya with my friend Reed and his partner Greg, and I saw the work that this organization We was doing. And I remember flying back to Nairobi. We were coming from the Masai Mara. I was asking, what would it take to work for the organization? My facilitator said, oh, you'd have to move to Toronto. And I said, oh, okay. After a couple of years at We, I'm speaking all across the world now, and I'm working with students and I'm working with other people telling them, listen, you need to make a difference. You need to create awareness. You need to create a campaign that will either raise funds or raise awareness about the things that you care about specifically. I was traveling with our founder, Craig Kilberger, and he had just nonchalantly been like, hey, have you ever thought about climbing Kilimanjaro? And I was like, no, what? And a week later I thought, wow, maybe I could. I can show youth that I'm gonna do exactly what I tell them to do. And so I thought about it for a week and I went back to Craig and I said, yes, I wanna do this, but this is what I wanna do. I wanna create a campaign. And he basically said, go do it. I went to my 2 buddies, their names are David and Alex, and I was like, I can't do this by myself, and what if we have this really cool adventure as friends? We named our campaign Redefine Possible, and initially we wanted to raise money to build schools. Then that summer, East Africa got hit with one of the largest droughts they'd seen in over 60 years. So we decided to do clean water instead. Got a personal trainer. We trained really hard. A lot of people were super excited and couldn't wait to get involved. My poor mother was so terrified, and this is her worst nightmare. I'm someone that pushes the limits a lot for myself, but I kept thinking maybe this is too far. That first day, we definitely panicked a little bit because it was so much harder than we thought. We had trained that I would do 50% of my hands and 50% of my wheelchair. I knew for sure that I couldn't do the whole mountain on my hands. Your arms are not meant to be walked on like that. So that was the hope that I was gonna do half and half. That wasn't accurate. It worked for a little bit, and then we got to the actual part where the trail started and my wheelchair was too wide. So I thought, okay, this first day, sure, I can get out and I can walk a little bit and then I can rest and then I can walk a little bit, and that's what we did. But very quickly we started to realize that this is how it was going to be. There wasn't a lot of options for me to use my chair. So I either needed to really give in and walk half the day and then have my friends carry me, or if there were places I could use my wheelchair, they could push me, which I wasn't prepared for. I wanted to do more than that. The other thing that was really hard is that I had to give up my independence. And as someone with a disability, you spend your entire life fighting for independence. And that was hard. And in those moments, there's nothing that you can do but just accept it. The morning of summit, it's dark outside. All you can see is this beautiful blanket of stars. It's so cold that our water in our water bottles had froze. Kilimanjaro isn't a technical climb, it's just whether the altitude affects you or not. The first half, I needed my friends and they were amazing at physically and emotionally supporting me. And then the roles reversed and my buddies got altitude sickness and I didn't. I didn't. There's no rhyme or reason, there's no explanation. I always make a joke that it's because I'm so short. At that point, they were like, it is far too steep for you to walk on your hands and for us to carry you in this contraption. And so they tied me in a blanket on the porter's back and literally carried me that way. And I'll never forget, as we were zigzagging, we literally watched night turn into day. On one side, it was still dark as the sun came up on the other side. We finally got to the point where it's like the last part before you start walking towards the top, called Gilman's Point. Kilimanjaro is a volcano, an inactive volcano. And so you can see now we have to walk around the rim, which then leads to the highest point. The boys had prepared some videos for me because they knew we would need something for this last push. So we had a video from my family. We all just started to walk together, and that's when my other friends started to get sick. I wasn't feeling altitude sickness, but you feel the altitude. Every motion takes all of your effort. If I would just like jump out of this chair here, would be no problem. But on Kilimanjaro, if you did that, it would take you a minute to catch your breath. Now, both of my friends were so sick that they were throwing up. Something as simple as your foot slipping a little bit on the ice, my friend Alex just would crumble like to his knees. The porters had started to carry me again because it was too dangerous for me to walk along the rim in some spots. And then we got to one point where we could rest again, and I just said, you need to put me down, because my buddies were so sick. I felt so guilty. I thought I was the one that was gonna need help. And now here they were suffering because I asked them to come and I asked them to support me. And now the roles were reversed and they needed my help. The entire climb, they kept saying, you know what, it's really inspiring to watch you walk up this mountain. And I was like, oh, blah, blah. But the minute we stopped, I thought, what else can I do? Honestly, it was the first day ever in my entire life where I wanted legs that day. So I could like carry my friends like they had carried me. And so what kept playing over in my head is it's so inspiring to watch you walk. My parents have always taught me to focus on the things that I could do. So I thought, well, this is all that I know to do. So we literally stood together and I stood in between them and I said, we're just gonna walk hand over hand and foot over foot, and as slow as we need to. We walked a little bit more. My friend Alex puked, walked a little bit more, crumbled, picked him up, walked a little bit more, and we could see it just off in the distance. There it was, there it was. And slowly we just kept walking and stopping and walking and stopping. And eventually we made it to the summit. It felt like slow motion. We slowly got there and we just collapsed into each other's arms and just cried. It was bittersweet. We like hugged, we like took a minute to just like be in the moment. I went to Kenya to facilitate one of our youth trips, and I remember I got there and my body just gave out and I got the flu and I was like out of commission for 2 days. But I remember laying in that tent and having separation anxiety. Within, a day of each other, we all messaged each other and we were like, we really miss you, and we all miss each other. That's when it hit me. Wow, we did that. We did that, we made it to the top, and we showed the world that anything is possible. I really want people to recognize is that we all have the ability and the responsibility to give back. And it looks different for every person.